Minecraft The Island by Max Brooks. Introduction. I wouldn't expect you to believe the world I'm about to describe, although you're reading these words mean you're already here. Maybe you've been in this world for a while, but just discovered the island. Or maybe, like it was for me, the island is your introduction to this world. If you're alone, confused, and scared about your mind, then you're exactly where I was on my first day. This world can seem like a maze and sometimes like a bully. But the truth is that it's a teacher, and its trials are just lessons in disguise. That's why I've left this book behind, so my journey can help you with yours. Chapter 1. Never Give Up. Drowning. I woke up underwater, deep underwater, and this was my first conscious thought. Cold, dark. Where was the surface? Kicked in all directions, trying to find my way up. I twisted and turned, and then I saw it, a light, dim, pale, and far away. Instinctively, I shot for it, and quickly noticed that the water around me was growing brighter. That had to be the surface, the sun. But how could the sun be square? I must be seeing things, maybe some trick of the water. Who cares? How much air do I have left? Just get to it, swim. My lungs ballooned. Little bubbles escaped from my lips, racing me for the distant light. I kicked and clawed the water like a caged animal. Now I could see it, a ceiling of ripples, coming closer with each desperate stroke. Closer, but still so far away, my body ached. My lungs burned. Swim! Swim! Crack. My body writhed as a sudden jolt of pain shot from toe to eyes. My mouth opened in a choked scream. I reached for the glow, grabbing for breath, for life. I exploded into the cool, clean air. I coughed, I choked, I wheezed, I laughed, breathing. For a moment, I just savored the experience, closing my eyes and letting the sun warm my face. But when I opened my eyes, I couldn't believe them. The sun was square. I blinked hard. The clouds, too. Instead of round, puffy cotton balls, these thin, regular objects floated lazily above me. You're still seeing things, I thought. You hit your head when you fell off the boat, and now you're a little dazed. But did I fall off a boat? I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember anything, in fact. How I got here, or even where here was. Help me, I shouted, scanning the horizon for a ship or plane, or even a speck of land. Please, somebody, anybody, help! All I got was silence. All I could see was water and sky. I was alone. Almost. Something splashed inches from my face. A flash of tentacles and a thick black and a grayish head. I yelped, kicking backwards. It looked like a squid, but square like everything else in this strange place. The tentacles turned to me, opening wide. I gazed into a yawning red mouth ring as white razor teeth. Get out of here, I hollered, mouth dry, heart pounding. I splashed clumsily away from the creature. I didn't have to. At that moment, the tentacle closed, blasting the squid in the other direction. I floated there, frozen, treading water for a few seconds, until the animal disappeared into the deep. That's when I let out a long, throaty, tension-draining "Urgh." I took another deep breath, then another, then a whole lot more. Finally, my heart settled down. My limbs stopped jerking. My heart settled down, and for the first time since I woke up, my brain switched on. "Okay," I said aloud. "You're way out in a lake or ocean or whatever. No one's coming to save you, and you can't tread water forever." I did a slow 360 turn, hoping to see something thread of coastline I missed before. Nothing. In desperation, I tried one last scan of the sky. No planes, not even a thin white trail. What sky doesn't have those trails? One with a square sun and rectangle clouds. The clouds, I noticed they were moving steadily in one direction, away from the rising sun, due west. As good as everywhere, I said, giving another deep sigh, and started swimming slowly west. It wasn't much to go on, but I figured the wind might help me along a little bit, or at least wouldn't slow me down. And if I went north or south, the breeze might slowly blow me in an arc, so I'd end up swimming in circles. I didn't know if that was really true. I still don't. Come on. I just woken up, probably with some kind of massive head injury at the bottom of an ocean, and was trying really, really hard to not end up back there. Just keep going, I told myself. Focus on what's ahead. I began to notice how weird my swimming was. Not the stroke, pause, stroke motion, but the sense of gliding across the water with my limbs long for the ride. Head injury, I thought, trying not to imagine how serious the injury might be. One good thing I noticed was that I didn't seem to be getting tired. Isn't swimming supposed to be exhausting? Don't your muscles burn and quit after a while? Adrenaline, I thought, and tried not to imagine that emergency gas tank running out. But it would. Sooner or later, I'd lose steam, cramp up, go for swimming, to tread water, then from treading water to floating. Of course, I would try to rest, bobbing up and down to conserve energy. But how long could I keep that up? How long before the cold of the water finally got to me? How long before teeth chattering, body shivering, and I finally sank back down into the darkness? Not yet, I blurted out. I'm not giving up yet. Shouting out loud was enough to perk me up. Keep focused. Keep going. And I did. I kept swimming with all my might. I also tried to super aware of my surroundings. Hopefully, I would spot the mast of a ship or the shadow of a helicopter, or at the very least, it could take my mind off my current predicament. I noticed that the water was calm, and this gave me something to feel good about. No waves mean no resistance. I could swim further, right? I also noticed the water was fresh, not salty, which I admit that I had been to a lake instead of an ocean. Lakes are smaller than oceans. Okay, a big lake is just as dangerous as an ocean. But come on, you got a problem with me trying to look up on the other bright side. I also noticed that I could see the bottom. It was deep. Don't get me wrong. You could sink a pretty decent office building and never see the top. But it wasn't bottomless like the ocean is supposed to be. I could see it wasn't level. There were tons of valleys and hills. That was when, off to my right, noticed that one of the hills had grown so tall that its top disappeared beyond the horizon. Did it break the surface? I turned northwest, I guess, and swam in a straight line for the hill. And before I knew it, the hill grew into an underwater mountain. And a few seconds later, I actually thought I saw its top sprout above the water. It's gotta be land, I thought, trying not to be getting my hopes up. It could be a mirage, though, a trick of the light or some mist, or... That's when I saw a tree, or at least I thought it was a tree, because from that distance, all I could make out was dark green, angular mass perched atop a green-brown line. Excitement propelled me like a torpedo. Eyes locked forward. I soon saw other trees dotting a tan beach. And then, suddenly, the green-brown slope of a hill. "Land!" I shouted. "Land!" I made it. Water firm. Solid ground. A few strokes and then I'll be there. A wave of total relief washed over me. And just like a real wave, it washed me back out. I barely had a second to celebrate before the island came into full view. By the time I reached the shore, I was just as confused as the moment I woken up. The island was square, or rather, was made of squares. Everything, sand, dirt, rocks, or even those things I thought were trees. Everything was a combination of cubes. Okay, I said, refusing to believe what I was seeing. Just need a minute is all, just a minute. Standing in waist-high water, breathing, blinking, I waited for my eyes to clear. I was sure any minute all those harsh right angles would return to soft, curly normal. They didn't. Gotta be that head wound, I said, wading ashore. No problem. Just make sure you're not bleeding too bad. And instinctively, my hand went to find out my supposed injury. And as it came back from my face, I gasped. Wow, there was this fleshy cube at the end of my rectangular arm. A cube that I wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. "Where's my hand?" I shouted, my voice rising in panic. Head swimming, throat closing. I looked nervously down at the rest of me. Brick-shaped feet, rectangular legs, and a shoebox-shaped torso, all covered in paint, unclothed. "What's wrong with me?" I hollered to the empty beach. "This isn't real!" I screamed, running back and forth, trying to tear the painted clothes off my body. Hyperventilating, I rushed back to the water, desperate for the calming reflection of my face. Nothing greeted me. "Where am I?" I shouted to the shimmering sea. "What is this place?" I thought of the water, but how I'd woken up. But had I? "This is a dream," I said, breaking into my panicked voice. reaching for the only thing I could think of. Of course. And for a second, I almost pulled myself together. Just a crazy dream. And soon you wake up and what? I tried to imagine waking up in my home, in my life. But it was all gone. I could remember the world. The real world of soft, round shapes. Of people, the houses and cars and lives. I couldn't just remember me in it. My vision narrowed as an invisible fist closed to my lung. Who am I? Tension pulsed up through the vein in my neck. I could feel of my skin, face, the roots of the teeth. Dizzy, nauseous. I staggered back. Was I old? Was I young? What was my name? What did I look like? Looking down at my boxy body, I couldn't determine anything. Was I a man or woman? Or was I even a human? What am I? The thread snapped. My mind collapsed. Where, who, what? And now the final question. Why? I screeched up at the bright square sun. Why can't I remember? Why am I so different? Why am I here? Why is this all happening to me? Why? All I got back was silence. No birds, no waves, not even a rustle of wind through the angular excuses for trees. Nothing but pure, punishing silence. And then, grrp, the sound was so small. I wasn't sure I heard it. Grrp. This time I heard it that time, and felt it too. It was coming from inside me. My tummy was rumbling. I'm hungry. That was all I needed to break my downward spiral. Something to do. Something simple to clear and focus on. And next to breathing, there's nothing clearer or simpler than eating. Grrp, growled my stomach, as if to say, I'm waiting. I shook my head violently, trying to get the blood back in my cheeks, and looked the blood down at my body to see if I had anything to eat. I'd been so shocked the first time I'd seen myself. I might have missed something earlier. Maybe I had a waterproof phone in my pocket. Maybe even a wallet with my ID. I didn't have either, or even pockets. But what I did find was a thin belt, painted with the same color as my pants. Another reason I missed it. The first time, with 4 flat pouches on either side. Each pouch was empty, but while I was going through them, I suddenly realized that I could feel a slight pressure from something resting gently on my back. Call it a back, but it didn't have any straps or hooks or anything to have it held in place. It was just stuck there, and like the belt in my painted-on clothes. I couldn't take it off, and I could only reach back and swing it to the front. Crazy dream, I said, coming back to the only mental crunch I have. The pack inside was lined with 27 small pouches, just like those belts, just totally empty. So much for taking inventory, I thought, as the feeling of hunger grew constant and meaning foraging for food. I looked around anything that looked remotely edible. At first, the only thing I could find was 1 block high blade of regular grass. They grew in 1 and 2s on the green covered dirt behind the beach. I reached down to one of sprouting right at my feet, but somehow I couldn't pick it up. Instead, I just swiped clumsily and as rapid punching motion. Anxiety welled up in me again. It was only thing that to have a strange look. Body. A whole new crisis to discover that the body wouldn't obey. I tried again, missing the grass. And when I finally connected, my fist smashed my target into oblivion. And I do mean it. The tall green stalks didn't just appear or break. They disappeared. One quick crunching noise and poof, gone. Oh, come on, I pouted, just as looking at this angular appendage. Just work, will ya? For some reason, pleading with my hand wasn't the answer. Neither was trying to repeat the same fruitless motion on another identical clump of grass. I've heard though, I can't remember where, but although of insanity, it was going the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. I don't know if that's true for some people, but for me, it was pretty darn close. Just work, I grunted angrily, punching the grass like it had swung first. Work, work, work! It was starting again, the mental slide. My mind was balancing a thin tightrope. At that moment, I really needed some kind of win. I didn't get one exactly, but I did break the cycle by accident. Literally breaking the ground. On the fourth try, I hit so hard and for so long, I didn't only destroy the little green blades, but also knocked them away a whole block of dirt beneath them. Whoa, I stammered, frustration replaced with curiosity. At first, I didn't see the block, just the block side hole it disappeared into. I peered into the divot and saw a cube floating at the bottom, actually hovering from the ground, but much, much smaller than it had been. I reached to pick it up, and it didn't get halfway there before it flew up at me. I stumbled back with surprise. Whoa! And looked at the cube in my hand. It felt like dirt, coarse and dry, with a few pebbles in it. I tried squeezing my hand and felt it give out with crumbling. I brought it up to my face and sniffed. It smelled just like dirt. I sniffed again and suddenly felt comforted. Everything was alien up till that point. Everything around me, including me. It wasn't. This wasn't. This was sensation that was familiar. I could feel my neck muscles relaxing, my jaw unclenching. Hey, I'm not embarrassed to say that I took another 5 or 4 long, tranquil whiffs of that dirt block. And I'm also not embarrassed to say that in each inhale, I glanced over my shoulder just to see that no one was looking. I won't say the experience I made everything better, but it did give me a confidence to try opening my fingers to drop the block on the ground. And it did. And I felt better. Well, all right, I exhaled. At least I have the power to drop things. Not a huge win, I know, but some tiny bit of control. I watched the little dirt cube hover at my feet for a second, then reached out to pick it up again. Didn't flinch. The second time it jumped to meet me. Okay, I said, taking a conscious breath. If I can drop you, maybe I can. Amu moved the cube down to one of the pouches of my belt and sighed deeply as it dropped aside. So, I said, smiling down at the belt, stuff well dirt, at least shrink small enough for you to carry it. Weird. But it might be useful in this dream. Couldn't say world yet. I was still way too fragile. Grrp, bubbled my stomach, reminding me it was still there. Right. I took the cube back out of my belt. Since I can't eat you, I can't think of reason to carry you. I held up the shrunken box out to the hole where I dug it up. It may be a pace or two away. It jumped right out of my hand, swelled back to its original shape, and snapped into place, as if nothing happened. Well, almost nothing. Digging it out, it had taken its green cover. I hummed and tried digging it again. Sure enough, a few punches it drove into my hand. When I put it down this time, I tried setting it next to the hole instead of inside it. Again, it sprang back to its normal size, sitting it securely on the ground. I hummed again, my newfound calm allowing the wheels to turn. Something about sitting the block down into a new place reminded me of a buried memory. I don't think it was a memory specific to me, but rather not in the not dream world. Something about little kids playing with blocks, making things, building. If everything here is made of blocks, I said to the newly replanted cube, and all these blocks in the shape, I could stack them, things I wanted to build. Grrp, came a particular angry protest from down south. Right, I told my stomach. Turning to the block. Maybe later, I gotta eat. I figured I'd give the grass one more try before moving on. I'm glad I did. On this fifth attempt, the vanishing clump left my collection of hovering seeds. Finally, I thought as I tried to pick them up. One weird minor quirk of this dream was that I could grab all 6 seeds at the same time, and I wasn't able to hold them individually. Another weird and a ridiculous major quirk was that I wasn't able to consume them. My hand just froze there, inches from my mouth, and it won't let me eat. Really? I said, and tried to move my face to my hand instead. That didn't work either. Like an invisible force field was holding them apart. Really, I repeated sarcastically, feeling all the frustration and anger rising up. Fine, my arm cocked to throw the seeds away. What stopped me was a block of dirt I'd been experimenting with. When I set it down a few minutes ago, the green cover top was missing. Now it was back. The turfy layer had regrown. That fast? I thought, looking down at the seeds. Do plants grow that fast? Maybe I should try planting the seeds. And boy, I tried. I tried every way I could think of. Dropped the seeds back in the ground, but they still hovered. I punched them into soil, but after just unearthed another block. And then after setting the block down, nothing worked. Why won't? Keep going, don't give up. another food source, any distraction. The trees! I ran over to the closest one, trying to peel away sections of the bark. Do people eat bark? Maybe I couldn't. The bark, my hands wouldn't let me grab the light and strip brown cover. They also wouldn't let me climb the thick trunks to the square bunch of many small cube leaves. I didn't give up. I just couldn't afford to. If this is a dream, then I can just fly and get some. Fist raised, eyes up. I leaped into the air and came down just as quick. But in that crucial moment, I suspended in the middle air. Something ugly, magical happened to me. I tried punching the leaves above me, and even though they were a block or two away, I felt my fist impact. I began hesitantly striking up above. Can I reach? Sure enough, though my actual arm didn't stretch, from 4 full block lengths, I could hit the dapple cube over my head. I can reach, I shouted, and began vanishing the leaf. Creeping instantly faded with an empowering punch. Yeah, I belted as the first cube vanished, dropping a red, shiny, semi-rounded fruit in my hand. That's what I'm talking about. And this time, my body let me eat. That's the key, I thought, crunching on the fruit crispiness, sweetness, and feeling the juice run down my throat. Maybe my hand will only let me eat what's edible. I might not have looked exactly like an apple, but just tasted like one. And if I thought the scent of the earth coming comfort was the new sensation of overpowering, I actually felt a sting at the corner of my eyes. Keep going, I said, as the entire apple disappeared into my welcoming stomach. Never give up. Without realizing, I just learned something. I call it a mantra, or a life lesson, or whatever. But they were words to live by, and there were many of things. A strange, wonderful journey. Never give up. End of chapter 1.